Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Getting into ACC, or Introduction to ACC, or ACC Getting Started, whatever we want to call it. Welcome. This is penalties, and we're going to show you the first penalty you can get. So, you're meant to stay in the green line here in an online race. We are creeping forward. We're trying to get ahead of the competition. It only matters if you're ahead of this. If you're behind, if we stopped and let that, if we're going to start further back, they don't seem to mind that so much. You don't get a penalty for being out of position there. However, here they do mind. So if we just sit there we go. It goes onto the speed. Now if we sit there, just cruising along, and then we go, there we go. We get a drive through for position on start from race control, and we have 3 laps to serve that penalty. Let's get another one. Okay, so penalty number 2 is going to be speeding at the start in a multiplayer race. Now these don't work for single player races, but we're going to go above and try and get it. And there we go. We get a drive through there for speeding on the start. Let's go and find another penalty. Okay, so you'll notice with all of these penalties that you get 3 laps to serve them. There is a consequence if you don't serve them in that time. So you get a drive-through for being out of position at the start. You get a drive-through for speeding at the start. Then the next thing that we're going to get a drive-through for is abusing the track limit. So if we floor it on the exit, we don't take our foot off. And you can see there we get a warning for exceeding the track limits. And we'll get another one hopefully here. Nope, they've decided that that one wasn't quick enough. So if you come off and you lift and try and rectify that you've gained an advantage, you'll sometimes find that you can get away with it, and they'll say, actually, yeah, you've lifted enough. There's no penalty there. And as I slide out of the corners, oh no, there we go. There's our second track cut. So we just need 2 more, so we'll get those as we go around here. So into first, we'll power out. Ooh. There's our third one. That's our third and final track cut. So now if we do it again, we will get a drive through. So if we accelerate out of here, go off the track, keep our foot down, and there we go. We've got our drive through. Now it will reset, and if we go wide here and try and keep it up, I don't know, there we go. Yeah, we've got another track cut. Then coming down here, we would get a second track cut. No, we got away with that one. Somehow we got away with that one. However, we would get a second track cut. We would get a third track cut. And then it would escalate to a stop and go 30 seconds. Let's go and find out how else we can get a stop and go 30 seconds. So the next penalty that we are going to claim with the stop and go is going to be when you come down to the pit lane and I don't hit the pit limiter in time. So we go down into second, into first, and we hit the pit limiter, and you see it flash to red from yellow. That's the indicator that it's all gone horribly wrong. We're not going to bother stopping because we don't need to demonstrate that. But this is the other stop and go. There's just one other penalty that we'll cover at the end of this. Otherwise, everything else is a disqualification or serving the pit limit. And there we go. We've gone through the pits, and if we'd have stopped or not, we get our 30-second stop and go. So I'll come back when it's time to serve the penalty. Okay, so here we are. We're coming round to serve our penalty. You don't want to speed on a penalty because you just get another drive through. So you want to make sure you're in first, you hit your button, and you are at speed by the time you go over the line. If this was just a drive through, we wouldn't need to stop. We can just go sailing on through. Remove the pit limiter at the end, not before. Don't speed in the pit lane. You'll get a stop and go for serving a drive through. It just goes from bad to worse. But this is a stop and go. You can see down in the pit one here, there is a checkbox that's grayed out called serve penalty. So if you we're going to stop here and we'll turn the engine off. You have to turn the engine off. Your controls are locked for the 30 seconds like a pit stop, but they don't do any work, and then you go. If you're running out of fuel or something and you need to do a pit stop rather than serve your stop and go or drive through, you have to untick that box before you come into the pits. That will then let you do a normal pit stop and get some fuel in, and then when you set off, you'll just have your 2 laps left or one lap left, depending on how many you've done, to serve the penalty. So you will need to go out and come back around. But if you need to... There we go, and that is how you clear the penalty. But if you need fuel, you can go and get fuel rather than serve the penalty. And if you're out on a lap, just bear in mind if you've got a penalty, it's nice etiquette. Go into the pits and serve it, because the people that you're racing with, you're just going to slow them down, and you're going to serve a 60-second penalty, so you're not going to even be in a race with them by the end. So my advice would be nice. Go and serve your penalty, and then see what you can pick up from that. In case anybody else gets a penalty, you'll have a nice clean track to get some decent laps in. So that's all of the penalties. Now, there are a few ways that you can actually get disqualified. One of those would be driving backwards. This is probably going to do nothing for my my rating here. But I'll show you one. I'm not going to show you all the ways to get disqualified. So one is running backwards. There you go. Disqualified for driving in the wrong direction. I've got a DSQ beside my name. My race is done. Although the controls are locked, I won't be able to go back in. So even when those controls get freed, you can't get back onto the track. You're disqualified. You're not racing. If you don't serve your penalty in 3 laps, this will also happen. You'll get transported to the pits and you're done. So it's worth just going into the pits when you get your penalty, get it served, get it out the way. There's also, if you don't turn lights on in a night race, you've got 3 laps where they give you grace period to turn your lights on. And if you don't do that, you'll get a disqualification. The only other penalty that we need to look at, but we're not going to bother, is if you don't serve a required penalty. So if there's a required pit stop. If there's a required pit stop in your race and you don't serve it, I believe it's a 90-second penalty you will get at the end of the race, which is more than a pit stop. So it's worth just going into the pits and getting that out of the way. That's it. That's all the penalties. That's how you serve them. That's what you get them for. If I've missed any, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, that's it for the episode. See you again. Bye for now.